All right, welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we are unpacking one of the most chilling, adrenaline-fueled, and honestly incredibly heartwarming survival stories from 2025. We're going to be focusing heavily on 5 young friends. These kids traveled from all over the globe, totally united by this intense thirst for adventure, and threw themselves right into the dead center of an abandoned amusement park. They risked absolutely everything, you guys. Their safety, their sanity, and as you'll see, their very souls. All for internet clout. But what these kids found waiting for them in the dark wasn't just a sick backdrop for a viral livestream. It ended up being a terrifying psychological test of exactly who they were. So let's step into the darkness right alongside them and uncover exactly what went down step by terrifying step. You know how every town has that one local legend? Well, every great mystery starts with a warning. And the locals living near these misty mountains whispered a pretty chilling truth about Shadowland. Those who enter after dark never come back the same. Now, this wasn't just your run-of-the-mill abandoned theme park. Shadowland was legendary, specifically because it only opened its rusted gates once every few years and only exactly at the stroke of midnight. Just imagine the vibe for a second. Thick fog, absolute eerie isolation, and a park that honestly seems to have a mind of its own. It's basically the ultimate forbidden fruit for thrill seekers. But as we're about to see with our group of friends, ignoring the locals is usually the absolute worst mistake you can make. To truly understand this nightmare, we really need to focus on the kids themselves. This wasn't some random, unorganized group. They were a tight-knit crew, each bringing something super specific to the table. We've got Alex from the US, the group's absolute adrenaline junkie, always ready to push the limits. Then there's Priya from India, the fearless vlogger, keeping the camera rolling, totally convinced this trip would pull in millions of views. Liam from the UK kind of anchored them as the skeptic and the voice of reason. You had Sophia from Brazil with her brave artistic eye as the photographer. And finally, Kenji from Japan, the quiet tech genius making sure all their gear stayed online. Now, individually, their unique traits gave them the arrogance to think they could handle whatever was inside. But spoiler alert, it was going to take all of their combined emotional strength to survive the night. Okay, so here is the point of no return. The kids drive their van up this super foggy mountain road, and literally right as the clock strikes 12, the massive old metal gates just creak open. No security guards, no visible motors, just this silent, super creepy invitation. Alex, running purely on that adrenaline we talked about, charges right in, and the rest of the crew follows close behind. As soon as they cross that threshold, it's sensory overload. The air suddenly smells like fresh popcorn, which, think about it, makes literally zero sense in a park that's been dead for years, and it's mixed with this harsh, metallic scent of rusted iron. And then, the dead speakers crackle to life. Cheerful carnival music starts blasting, blended with the really unsettling faint sound of children laughing. Priya instantly fires up her live stream. They think they're totally in control of the narrative here. Man, were they wrong. The escalation inside the park is just incredibly rapid. It's like the park immediately starts playing games with them. At exactly 5 past midnight, they hop on the teacups and the ride just starts up entirely on its own. The kids are kind of laughing nervously as the cups spin faster and faster until the whole world blurs. But when the ride stops, the park actually looks different. It's somehow cleaner, brighter. A literal brand new haunted house has just materialized out of thin air. By 12:15, they're inside that haunted house, and the animatronics are moving way too smoothly for ancient machines. At one point, a clown figure turns directly to the group and whispers, "Stay forever." Liam tries to play it off, but you can tell the dread is really setting in for all of them. Kenji's drone even picks up these weird heat signatures tracking them in the dark. Finally, at 12:30, they climb the giant Ferris wheel. Right as they hit the very top, boom, total blackout. When the lights violently flicker back on, every single empty ride in the entire park is running at full, terrifying speed. So, realizing they are completely in over their heads, Sophia makes the call. They need to leave now. But when they run back, the exit gates are just gone, replaced by this towering, endless mirror maze. And guys, this is where the psychological horror truly ramps up. The kids are absolutely terrified, desperate, and starting to panic. But their reflections in the glass, their reflections are acting completely on their own. Alex looks in the mirror and sees his own face smiling, this sick, sinister smile, even though the real Alex is basically paralyzed with fear. Priya looks at herself and watches in absolute horror as her reflection starts crying tears of blood while her actual face is completely dry. It's this massive, deeply personal violation of their reality. Kenji spots the danger first and screams at everyone to stop looking. The park isn't just trying to trap their bodies anymore. It's literally invading their minds and twisting who they are. Without warning, the very ground under their feet begins to violently shake. The walls of the park start shifting, paths are rearranging themselves. It's like the park itself is this giant breathing beast that just woke up. And then, out of nowhere, this deep, booming voice echoes across the entire shifting landscape.
Welcome to the real Shadowland.
You wanted thrills? Now survive till sunrise. I mean, the blood just drains from their faces. This was no longer a game for views. This was a brutal, all-out fight for their lives. And honestly, to make matters so much worse, the massive roller coaster cars literally detach themselves from their tracks, hit the pavements, and start chasing the kids along the ground, hunting them like giant metallic predators. Desperate to find some cover, the exhausted kids dive into an old, dusty arcade. But there's no safe zone in Shadowland. As soon as they enter, the arcade cabinets boot up on their own. Liam walks up to one, and the digital character on the screen, it looks exactly like him. This pixelated version of Liam looks out and begs, "Help me, I'm the real one." Liam immediately gets dizzy, grabbing his head in absolute agony. And then the unthinkable happens. Sophia's literal shadow detaches from her feet and just walks away on its own. The horrifying truth dawns on the kids, and it sparks pure panic. The park isn't just trying to scare them anymore. It is actively stealing their shadows. It's harvesting their souls, one by one. They have to chase Sophia's rogue shadow back out into the deadly shifting park, dodging moving swings and crashing lights, relying on each other like never before. During this totally frantic chase, the kids manage to stumble into the park's old main control room. And there, hidden under a super dusty console, they find this weathered old diary. It turns out, the year 1987 is the key to this whole nightmare. The diary actually belonged to the original owner of Shadowland. As Kenji and Alex frantically flip through these brittle, yellowed pages, the dark lore of the park is finally revealed. Back in 1987, the owner was so obsessed with making his park successful forever, he actually made a dark deal with an ancient shadow entity for eternal fun. But, deals with dark entities literally never go as planned. The curse ended up trapping the owner, and it doomed anyone who visited the park after dark to stay there forever, becoming the park's permanent entertainment. Now, the diary did contain a way out, but it demanded the impossible. It laid out two very specific steps to break the 1987 curse. Step 1, you must ride the final ride together. Step 2, you must choose to leave your fear behind. I mean, sure, it sounds simple on paper, but to 5 completely exhausted, traumatized kids, it sounded like a literal death sentence. Because the final ride wasn't some gentle merry-go-round. No, it was this massive, towering, rusted drop tower that plunged straight down into pitch-black, endless darkness. To survive, these friends had to willingly strap themselves into a machine controlled by a malicious entity and somehow figure out how to just not be afraid. So this massive question is just hanging over the group. Could they really do it? Could they face their absolute worst fears in the pitch black? As the kids slowly walk up to the towering drop ride, the park pushes back with everything it has left. Literal shadow versions of themselves start materializing in the empty seats, actively trying to drag them away into the dark. Alex is crying out, physically fighting off his own shadow just to get to a seat. Priya, in this display of just incredible, shaking bravery, keeps her camera rolling, absolutely refusing to let the dark win. Meanwhile, Kenji is using every single ounce of his tech genius, frantically hacking into the drop tower's super archaic system on his phone just to force the rusted restraints to open. They finally get in, they strap down together, and the floor just drops out from under them. They immediately plummet into this total, suffocating darkness. It honestly feels like they are dropping for minutes, not seconds. And down there, in that endless abyss, the park unleashes its final, most brutal attack. It completely bypasses physical fear and goes straight for their deepest, most personal psychological vulnerabilities. This shadow entity subjects the kids to hyper-realistic visions designed to just completely shatter their minds. Alex, our fearless adrenaline junkie, he's forced to experience being completely, utterly alone forever, just screaming into an empty void. Priya, who lived her whole life on camera, trying to be seen, is subjected to a crushing vision of her own family, entirely forgetting she even existed. And Liam, the skeptic who always tried to protect the group, was crushed by the vision of failing everyone around him and watching his friends perish. The park was doing everything it could to break their spirits before they hit the bottom. But here is the amazing part. They didn't break, they didn't use adrenaline to fight it, and they didn't use technology. They fulfilled step 2 of that diary,
leaving fear behind, but relying entirely on each other. While they were plummeting through the dark, violently tormented by these awful nightmares, they blindly reached out and locked hands. Pushing back against the terrifying illusions, they just started screaming out their happiest memories together at the top of their lungs. They yelled out their inside jokes, stories from their travels, just focusing on the pure, undeniable joy of their friendship. And as it turns out, the sheer, overwhelming positivity of their bond was completely toxic to this ancient entity. As the kids reinforced their connection and flat-out refused to let the fear win, the shadow entities swirling around them shrieked in absolute agony and just completely dissolved into thin air.
Finally, the ride gently glides to a stop at the bottom. The terrifying illusions are completely gone. As the kids unbuckle their harnesses, shaking and just gasping for air, the very first brilliant rays of sunlight break over the misty mountains. The transformation of the park is instant. That vibrant, deadly, shifting Shadowland they had been fighting all night, it just vanishes. In the clear morning light, it's nothing more than an old dead ruin again, just rusting metal and rotting wood. But most importantly, the exit gates are standing wide open. Exhausted, battered, but incredibly bonded by what they just survived, the 5 friends slowly walk out of the park, leaning on each other for support. They actually beat the curse.
Now, you'd think they were totally in the clear, right? Well, the park wasn't quite finished with them. Once they are safely outside, catching their breath in the warm sun, Priya immediately checks her camera footage to make sure they didn't just mass hallucinate the whole thing. She scrubs right to the end of the video. The final seconds show all 5 of them walking away, and thankfully, their shadows are firmly attached to their feet. They really are safe. But in the very last frame of the video, literally right before the camera cuts out, there is a small shadow child standing behind the ruined Ferris wheel, waving at them. And captured super faintly on the audio track is this soft, terrifying whisper, "Come back next year, we had so much fun." I mean, literal goosebumps, right?
So, what do we actually take away from this insane story? First off, and this is huge, clout, viral views, and internet fame are literally never worth risking your life. But looking deeper at these kids, we really learn what true bravery is. It's not about jumping off tall things or acting tough for a camera. Real bravery is having the courage to rely completely on your friends when things get unimaginably dark. Those 5 kids never forgot that night. Surviving that shared trauma bonded them tighter than ever. They even launched a brand new channel. But instead of chasing cheap, dangerous thrills, they now use their massive platform to warn everyone else about the things lurking in the dark that might just chase you back. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. If the gates of Shadowland mysteriously opened for you at midnight, offering the ultimate viral moment, would you walk in? Think about it. Thanks for joining me to uncover this story. Always keep seeking the truth, and I will catch you on the next explainer.